Hi everyone! Once again, my name is Julie and I am the co-owner of Fandia Fabrics. Today is day 6 of our week-long sew-along. Tomorrow's the last day and it's the catch-up day, and so that's the last day to post your entries into our giveaway. So you should take a picture of all 3 of your makes at this point in one picture and post in the comments on that post in our sew long group, okay? Today we're going to show you the fabric hack. Again, this is the Purse Pal by Lynn's Handmade. So all credit goes to Lindsay, as well as Kirby, who posted pictures of the fabric hack and is the first person who did the fabric hack. No video has been done so far of this hack for the Purse Pal that I'm aware of. We decided to add it into our sew along because I see a lot of requests for, a video because there's only the pictures there, which are great, which is how I learned to do it. But I know not everybody can learn from pictures and written instructions. We all learn differently. So I'm here to show you this. So let's go ahead and get started, okay? As you can see, all the tools are pretty much the same as the last 2 projects. The biggest thing I would point out is if you only use double-sided tape in the last 2 because that's your preference, you definitely want a glue stick for this fabric hack here, okay? It's going to help you glue the edges of the fabric and wrap them around the deco. So everything is the same. Again, pay attention to the measurement on the zipper tape if you're using by the yard, okay? Because that's 1 inch longer than if you'd use store-bought. We'll do this one first. So when cutting out your pattern, cut everything out as normal, except for this is the exterior zipper pocket. Okay, so this is Decoville. I don't know if you can see real well, but it's all glue all here. So this is Decoville Heavy. You can also use Decoville Light, either one. Both have been tested successfully with this fabric hack, okay? I just prefer Decoville Heavy, and my machine can handle it. So pay attention to what your machine can handle as well, okay? So you're gonna cut this to the exact shape and measurement and cut this out just like that pattern piece says. And then with the fabric that you want on the exterior, and this fabric I got from Cosmic Fabric, and a little birdie told me that they are going to be running some of their avatar again, so keep an eye out there for that. But you're going to cut it 1 inch wider all the way around, okay? And this is so that later, and I'll show you in depth, but later you're gonna put glue and fold all the sides in, okay? So that's the only piece that's different. All these other pieces for the Purse Pal are the exact same, okay? Everything else is the same. So, go ahead and pause here and cut out your pattern if you haven't already. And then also center, when you're done cutting, center your Decoville on the back of your fabric and adhere it. Okay, so now that everything's cut out and you've ironed your Decoville to the exterior fabric, it should look like this, okay? So try and get it as evenly spaced as possible there. But what we're gonna do is take our glue stick and we're just gonna start at one edge, put some glue there, and just fold it down. And don't worry about the corners right now. We'll do those in a minute. Okay, and I like to iron top and bottom and then both sides, and then go back and do all the corners. Okay, you really want to make sure you press this all down. It will get sewn later, but for right now, you want to make sure it holds through all your handling and, you know, before you actually get it to the sewing machine. Okay. Okay, so when it comes to the corners, my chair's squeaky, so sorry about that. When it comes to the corners, what I like to do, let's see, is snip down, and I don't go all the way because I don't want it to see them to see the snip on the other side. Okay, so you can see that. So I just made 2 snips. So there's a piece that looks like this now, and then these are loose. Okay, and then put some glue in here, and you can trim these down if you want. Yeah, that one's a little long, so I'm going to trim that one down, and then put some more glue, and you want to pull as you fold. Okay, and this, just because it's a little thicker, I like to clip it while it dries. Okay, but then go ahead and do the other 3 corners. And we're gonna let that dry. Now for the center portion here, I like to mark halfway. So I like to mark halfway down the center, or as close to halfway as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect. And we're gonna cut on that line, but keep in mind you don't want to cut all the way down. You're gonna do it, well, there's a zipper pocket here that goes here, so you're gonna do it like a zipper. Okay, so and then you're gonna go ahead and cut on those lines, and I have a seam ripper here. There we go. So you can cut this with a rotary cutter and the straight edge. I just use a seam ripper to get started, and then bring my little snippers in here. You see, I'm just cutting there. Okay, so now it's all open. Okay, so then you guessed it, we're gonna put glue and pull it back to the inside. Okay, pull all the fabric, the loose fabric back and glue it in, okay? And the reason you want to be as even as possible when you cut the middle out is so you have enough fabric back on the edges here, because eventually you're gonna catch that, or try and catch it in the seam allowance when you sew the zipper in the later step. Okay. Okay, so now I'm gonna have you set this piece aside, and you're gonna go ahead and take all your other pieces, okay? Pay attention to the cutting instructions for the snap tab again, because if you're cutting manually, she's going to have you cut it wider, glue it together, and then cut it down using the pattern piece. But then you're going to go ahead and assemble the snap closure. You can also, in your lining piece, you can go ahead and glue the edges back again and prep the lining piece. Okay, and go ahead and do your card slots and slip pocket steps, okay? So I believe Abigail did that on day 2. And you're gonna stop after she has you top stitch the card slots here. So before putting it all together, okay? And we'll pick it up there. So go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and do that, and then we'll be back, okay? At this point, you should have your zip pull on your zipper, your completed card slots / slip pocket, your completed snap tab. This should be all dry, the exterior zipper pocket, and the interior zipper pocket should be glued down. Okay, so you can see that there. If it's not all that way, go ahead and pause the video and then come back when that's all completed. Then at this point, we're going to take the card slots, and if you're going to edge coat, then this is where we would do that. See, I have raw edges there, and we're just going to edge coat this. If you're not going to edge coat and you want to leave it raw, that's totally fine. Then you can go ahead and skip forward to the next step. And so the gaps, you can kind of see are gaps, but when you clip it, you just hold it together so it'll dry together. The clips can also keep it from resting on your work surface so the paint doesn't come off. Don't worry too much. This I did test this paint to see if it comes off at all, like if you get it on parts that you don't want it on. Using a Q-tip and like rubbing alcohol, it comes off actually really nicely. So okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and let that dry and then we'll be back. Okay, so I went ahead and did a second coat on the edge of the card slot / slip pocket. And now we're going to, while that dries, go ahead and come back over here to your exterior. This is going to be attached the same way as the purse pal regularly is, as well as the pocket pal. Okay, so just figure out, you know, evenly space your zipper pull and your zipper tape in there. And you can use double-sided tape if you want. Again, personal preference. I may tack it a little bit just so while it doesn't move. And then you're going to go ahead and adhere this. Again, she uses spray adhesive. I use my glue stick, especially on the Decoville. The cotton sticks really nicely to it. Okay, so go ahead and do that. And then stitch the box around. So you're going to do a top stitch. So for that I do 4 again, and so just top stitch that box around there. Okay, and then we'll be back. So now that you've top stitched around this box, you're going to want to grab this piece, your card slots, your snap tab, some clips if you like, and before you're going to pry up just this edge. Okay, so opposite the one you put the label on, this is the one that goes against your card slot. So if you made yours backwards, which I've done before because I didn't cut mirror on my Cricut, just make sure you're pulling up the right side, the correct side, that is. So you're just going to peel the liner up carefully. So I just use the glue stick, so it's not that difficult. Okay, so just make sure you have a gap in there. Okay, now you're going to line this all up. Make sure you have any frays from the liner caught inside or trimmed. Okay, line up both corners. Flatten these other corners. And we're going to undo the zip about halfway. Okay. Going to turn it on. Okay, so flatten this corner here. Okay. So now you're going to grab your card slots and try and line all your corners up, okay? It's okay if they're not perfect, but just line them up as best you can, okay? Put a smaller clip there. Okay, and I'm going to clip on the side and here. Okay, so here's the reason why I had you undo that lining, okay? So you're going to snap the tab in, okay, straighten it, and open it up so you should see Decoville and the wrong side of your fabric. I use the batik, so it doesn't really have a wrong side. But just slap the end of the snap tab in there, okay? Fold it and make sure it's nice and straight, okay? And then take a clip and clip it, okay? And I like to do both sides. Okay, and then you're gonna unclip it carefully and adjust the clips here as needed, okay? So this is the other reason I mentioned earlier when talking about Decoville, to be sure you understand what your machine can handle, because at this point we're looking at 2 layers of vinyl from the snap tab, 2 layers from this pocket here, 2 layers of Decoville heavy, and some cotton thrown in. So that's a lot of layers. So if you have you know, especially if you have a domestic machine, definitely check on some scrap layers before. I am sewing on a Juki Haruka, so I tested on some scrap layers just to make sure I had tension set correctly. So those with semi-industrial or industrial machines, definitely check your tension before you touch this, because of course, once you sew into vinyl, it leaves a hole. So if you have to unpick it and re-sew, unless you go in the exact same puncture from the needle originally, you're gonna have more holes than you bargained for there, okay? So this is all clipped together. I'm gonna take it over to the machine and carefully stitch, and I'm going to use a regular stitch length for this, making sure to back stitch at both the start and the end. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch around all the edge, and we'll move the camera over there. Okay, so now that we're over at the machine, and you can start whatever side you want. I always start this side because I sew from the top side. So you can do about 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch stitch. You want to make sure that you're catching the lining, okay? So from that zipper pocket, you want to make sure whatever you do, you catch that lining. And I know some people like to do 2 rows of stitches, and that's totally fine as well. Again, make sure you've done mostly top stitching at this point, so make sure you go down to a normal stitch length. Nice and slow, especially over those bumps, and back stitch. Okay. And remember, your corners are thicker. These 2 corners here are thicker because of that folded over fabric. So that's another place you can reduce bulk if you're worried about what your machine can handle. Okay. And that's it. So of course the last step is to trim those threads, and then you have a beautiful purse pal with the fabric hack. Okay, I hope you enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching.